And what I'm going to ask, if it's okay, is that we unmute ourselves and put on your camera. I don't care if you're in your jammies or whatever. You don't want to see me from the waist down right now, for sure. So I want this to be an interactive program. I don't want to lecture you for an hour and 45 minutes. I want us to be able to engage, and I'll call upon you at different moments to help me through this. Does that sound fair to everybody?
Hi, Kendra. I'll have to leave in an hour because I have another meeting.
Okay.
So I just wanted you to know. But
I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate that. So it looks like we got quite a few people and some still popping in. The ask is that we unmute ourselves, and you can stay muted unless you're talking if you like, but I would love to see your faces if that's possible, because I will be calling on you guys to help me through this session so that we get through it in a way where everybody feels that they were able to participate and get the most out of this talk. So with that housekeeping out of the way, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. And can we all see my screen? Well, it's coming up. Let's give it a second.
Yes.
I'm so excited and I just can't hide it. I'm ready. Come on, come on, computer. Let's do what we need to do this morning. All right, there we go. The power of a mindful woman. So let's get started on a really positive note. I'm going to read this quote. We need women who are so strong they can be gentle, so educated they can be humble, so fierce they can be compassionate, so passionate that they can be rational, and so disciplined they can be free. That's by Kavita Ramdas. So today we're going to talk about the power of a mindful woman, which is a beast you don't want to mess with. So let me introduce myself. I go by the Recoverist. They call me the Recoverist. I'm Kendra Foy, and I'm the author of The Addiction of Religion, a book that I released last year. And I was in corporate America for nearly 20 years. I worked internationally as an international call center vendor manager, which just means I flew around the world to all of our different call center locations, from the Philippines to Jamaica to Colombia, Costa Rica. Really, really amazing opportunity that I had. But today I am an author, I'm a spiritual life coach recoverist, and I specialize in mindfulness. I work with high level individuals who struggle with drug and alcohol addiction, anxiety, and depression. And so it's my life work to promote the idea of mindfulness and having a spiritual base within yourself that allows you to be the best you that you can be. So there's me and my little signature picture. I am the CEO of Burning Desire Spiritual Recovery Services, and this is my book. I know it's shocking visual, but it is available exclusively on Amazon.com. And what this book is, it's about religion, the history of religion in part one, how we came to discover the religions that we embrace in part two. And then in part three, it talks about what can we do if with this knowledge, and or how do we step outside of the framework of the religions we were taught, and how can we live a mindful spiritual life. So if you're interested, check it out on Amazon.com. And I do want to put my contact information for those of you who may have to leave early. So you can take a picture with your phone, or you can do a screenshot and save it for future reference, because I'm going to be so amazing. You're going to definitely want to stay in touch with me. So we'll go ahead and put that there so that you can have access to that. I will put it up again at the end of the presentation, but I do know that we're all busy and some of us have to step away from meetings, etc. So all my little housekeeping items are now out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and start with our presentation. So I would like a volunteer who's not afraid to read the quote at the bottom of this picture. Anyway.
I'll read it.
Depressed, you are living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you are at peace, you're living in the present. Lao Tzu.
That's Lao Tzu. If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. Thank you so much for reading that. And I want us to really get this quote. This is one of my favorite quotes. It's the quote that I use to center myself. And when I get into situations, I have to poll myself to say, am I living in the past right now in this moment? Am I living in the future?
All right, so I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. Feel free to throw it in the chat if you can't see or if anything looks weird or if you can't hear it.
Leaders are known as lead. They lead their organizations, they lead their people, they lead their departments, they lead the industries. And that's the reason they are known as leaders. But there's a difference between a leader and a mindful leader. The difference is not just about vocabulary or adding up a prefix to the word leader, but there is a fundamental difference in the overall process of how the leadership has flowered within that individual. A mindful leader starts the journey of leadership from within. And by that, what I mean is the journey which begins by mastering the thoughts, by mastering the intentions, by mastering the perceptions, the values, the beliefs, the attitudes, and the overall personality. And because the person has mastered himself, and that's the reason he is able to plan a comeback, to strategize a comeback from any sort of crisis. And that's the power of mindful leadership. Today, if you see the kind of environment in which the organizations are existing, there's a lot of ambiguity out there. You don't know what's going to happen. At every corner, you see a change. You see something that is going to change. And in this environment, it is important that a leader stands strong within himself first, then amongst his people, and then in the organization, and then in the industry. And to make this happen, a leader needs to first strengthen his roots that are lying deep within him. His emotions, his beliefs, his thought patterns, his perceptions, his values, his behaviors, his actions, his responses, his personality, his character as a whole. And that's what will bring a change in the organization from the macro level. And that's the importance of mindful leadership.
Thank you. Begins with how we manage our thoughts. So our thoughts determine how we feel about every situation in every moment. You don't want to go into a situation like this with a negative feeling about it already. When you engage in an experience, you want to go in with a predetermined and clear vision of how you want to look at things from a positive perspective. So here's another quote. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's by Wayne Dyer. So as mindful leaders, we have to be aware of how we think and how we present to the world and how we view those that we lead. When we practice mindful leadership, it's often easier to make the more difficult and challenging decisions because we know we've given our best efforts. So as your leader, if I know that I have poured into you, I've given to you all the resources and tools that I can possibly give you, if I have to sit down then with you and have a difficult conversation about your performance or about meeting goals or metrics or things of that nature, I can go into that conversation empowered because I know as your leader, I did my best, right? It's not that I didn't nurture you or groom you or help you. I can go into that difficult conversation without any angst because I know that as your leader, I provided mindful guidance to you. Does that make sense? So thoughts are things and things are thoughts. I want us to get real comfortable with the idea of thought and how important thought is, because everything around you is a representation of a thought. The chair you're sitting on, the computer you're using, everything that you can see is a result of someone's thought, right? Somebody thought and said, I don't want to be on the ground anymore. Let's make a chair out of something. Right. And then somebody said, well, that chair, that's cool. It's hard, but I want something soft and comfortable. And everything that we see has evolved in that way, that we've gone all the way from sending a message through a telegram to we can pick up our wireless phones and call anywhere in the world. And these are all progressional thoughts and has led us to where we are today. So the state of the team that you had as a leader, the state of your relationships, both personal and professional, are a result of your thoughts. So if you look at your marriage, if you look at your team, if you look at how things are going, it's a result of how you're thinking about it. So as a mindful leader, it's your responsibility to seek your highest thought and your highest good about every situation that you encounter, because that's what you're going to manifest. Whatever is in your mind, however you're looking at it. Remember what when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. If you're managing your thought about how you are leading your team and moving it forward, then you will be able to assess what's wrong with the situation or what's right with the situation based on how do I think about it. So your thought perspective determines what you see in your reality. So let's discuss this scenario. I'm going to meet with my new team and they were all previous employees. Anybody ever been there, inherited a team? You got hired and now you've got this team of 10, 20 people. There are different ways that you can look at that. You can look at it and say, oh, this person's a slacker. They already filled me in on Joan. She's late to work all the time, or this person or that person. If you look at it as from a negative perspective, then you are going to then cultivate a negative experience with this team. If you go into it saying, you know what, this is not the best team already, but under my leadership, I'm going to take them to the next level. We're going to forget whatever was in the past. We're going to start new. I'm going to make sure that I set my clear expectations of this team, and I'm going to assess each individual, see where their strengths and opportunities lie, and develop a plan for developing them into what they want to be. Or you can cry about it and not make your goals, miss your deadlines, and then try to make excuses and say, no, it was these people that you gave me. And if I could have chosen my own team, it wouldn't be like this. So it's all about, as a leader, how are you looking? That's the question you want to ask yourself. How am I looking at my team? How am I looking at my marriage? How am I looking at my children? And then from there, you can decide, am I seeking the highest thought or my highest good about the situation? If not, it's up to you as a mindful leader to change that narrative. And it starts in your mind. And then you can, based on that, changing your perspective, changing your energy, changing the way you engage with these people, you will change the result that you're seeing. Does that make sense? So the questions are, what are your thoughts manifesting in your personal, professional, and social life? How does the team that you're leading reflect your thoughts about your employees? I'm not going to make you answer it out loud, but just think about it. Do you think of your team as successful? Are you full of slackers? Do you think your team is cutting edge? Or do you feel like you inherited a group that you wouldn't have chosen, and so now you're stuck with these people that you have to lead? So we're going to look at mindfulness from the perspective of an acronym for the word mindful, and hopefully this will help us to remember how to practice it. So we're going to start with the letter M. I wanted to make this very simple so you can remember this stuff and leave out of here ready to use some of these tools and resources and ideas to change how you're looking at your current situation. So the M is for motivation. Motivation is your fuel. You see in the animation here, or in the picture here, you see how it's loading? How many of us, our motivation is loading? We're not there yet, or we're somewhere lower down the spectrum. You notice even in the picture, it's not full. So we have to look at ourselves as mindful leaders and say, okay, where's my motivation? How am I feeling about this? Okay. Am I dreading getting up to go into the office today? Or am I dreading these conference calls I have today? What is our motivation? So take a moment to assess your motivation to lead your team, your group, or even your family. And I include family and social and stuff like that because it's not just about your work. Mindfulness is a holistic approach to how you are aware of yourself in the world and how you want to present in any given moment. So you'll see those references throughout the program here. Are you running on fumes? Are you going through each day with mundane repetitiveness? Are you inspired to stretch yourself and your goals? The choice to motivate yourself is a task that is rooted in perspective. How am I looking at this? Am I dreading, oh God, this is almost the end of the first quarter. They're going to be, looking at performance and it's down. COVID is this and all these other things that we have going on in our lives. But are we motivated? Are we inspired? The choice to motivate yourself is rooted in your perspective. So here's where mindfulness actually begins. Because guess what? If you're not motivated, you're not doing anything. And if you do, it's only going to be the bare minimum to get by. And not only that, if you're the leader and that's your perspective, then your people are only going to do the bare minimum to get by. That's why it is so important that you as a leader have the right motivation to move and propel your team forward. So in this moment, I'm going to be the kind of leader that has my team excited to come to work every day, excited about the end of the month, excited about the end of the quarter, excited about what's moving and happening and changing in our environment so that they're motivated. Because if you're not, they won't be either. So you must have the desire to motivate yourself to present your best self to the world. And motivation involves viewing your role as a leader as a source of inspiration for those that you lead. You can't depend on your team to inspire you. That's not their job. You can't depend on your team to motivate you. You have to be the source of motivation for your team. And your team, whether you want to admit it or even if it makes you uncomfortable, your team is a reflection of whatever it is that you are displaying to them as a leader. So if there's something wrong in there, you need to ask yourself, okay, well, yeah, I know I've been off because, this is going on at home, and it's going to reflect in your work environment. It's going to reflect in your team because you can't go any further than your leader. So if we're not motivated, we can expect to see and have an unmotivated team. So the good news is that you get to set the standard by which your followers will then find their motivation to help you achieve your goals. Does that make sense? If you're motivated and you come in there and your team knows that you're on fire and look, we're number one and whatever, we're going to do it this year, this time. We didn't make goals last month, but guess what? This month, we're going to apply the effort. We're going to have better meetings. We're going to have more engagement. If you need my support, I'm here for you. If we put ourselves with skin in the game to motivate and serve as an inspiration for our team, then they will do their best to help you to the finish line. They will do it. They will, if you're motivated and you show them. So that's number one for mindfulness. M is motivation. You got to have that or you can't move forward. The second thing for the letter I is intention. Your intention is your guide. So be mindful of intention. Intention is the seed that creates our future. So a mindful leader starts each event with a specific intention. Your intention is your desired state of being in this moment. So we're acutely aware of who we are. So for me, preparing for this, I said, okay, I'm going into this session. It's my intention that I give my best presentation and that I deliver some information that will be helpful to them so that when they leave, they can immediately use or employ some of these ideas and suggestions into their daily lives in a meaningful way. That was my intention. So when I got here, you notice we had technical difficulties. My sound went out. We had connectivity issues, but my intention is still the same. And we were able to navigate around those things that we can't control. Remember, I told you, we can't control the people. We can't control the environment. In this case, I couldn't control the technology. But what I can do, what I wasn't going to do, was get upset, get discouraged, get frustrated, because these things that happened outside of my control happened, and now we're back on track and we're able to proceed with the presentation. Hopefully you guys are getting good things out of this so far, and we're able to move forward. So despite those uncontrollable things, I had to stay in control of myself. I couldn't lose hope and say, oh, I couldn't give up based on things that happen outside of myself, if this makes sense to any of you. So intention is not rooted in results. See, I put that in the presentation. And we're seeing that. We actually got to see that live today. So I'm actually kind of glad it happened now because it's proving out my presentation as we go along. Your intention is not rooted in results. It is rooted in your vision of self and how you desire to proceed. So we're not going to go into the meeting saying, okay, I'm going to the meeting today. We're going to have a team meeting. It's a whole new beginning. We're going to have a team meeting. I'm going to talk to everybody, get them all pumped up, and then they're going to this and they're going to that, and then now they're going to No. Your intention is about you and what it is that you want to present in this moment, how you want to be in this moment. It's not based on how you think they should respond, how you think they should act, if you think they should like it. It's about what is your vision, not on results. So intention is not married to results. Intention is about how you want to experience this moment. For example, going into a meeting, kind of talked about this a second ago, your intention might be to express your ideas in a clear, concise way that everyone can understand and receive. You're going into this meeting with someone that you don't think likes you, or you think wants your job, or you think wants to get rid of you, or well, these people don't listen to your ideas. Instead of going into that meeting from a negative space, you just say, I can't control how these people are going to respond. But what I can control is me, and this is my intention. This is what I want to accomplish. In this one-on-one, I know I've had one-on-ones with with Sally, and it doesn't seem to matter what I do, she doesn't listen, or she zones out, or it's not based on how the other person perceives you or reacts. Your intention is rooted in how you want to present, because it may be later that you have to have that conversation with Sally and let her go. But you, as a mindful leader, cannot have failed her and not given her the best of who you are, right? So intention is it's all about you. This whole thing is all about you. So in this way, your focus will not be on how your audience responds, but how you present your material and your information. Going into that meeting, I'm going to make sure that, I know these people, it's always a thing with this people, they don't like me or whatever. So I'm just going to go in here and just throw in it. No, from a mindful leader perspective, you're going to go in there with your best self. How do I want to be? You're going to make sure your material is on point. You're going to make sure you've done your research. You're going to make sure you trust and verified your points. You're going to make sure you're at the best that you can be in that moment, and not concerned with how they're going to respond or react. So in this way, your success is only contingent upon completing your mission. If you do that and you go in there and you give them the best of yourself, then your job is done. The rest is on them. How they interpret it, how they receive it is on them. But if you come in with positivity, then that's what you're going to attract back. So it's not that you don't care about results. It's that instead of focusing on results, you're focusing on you and being present and delivering the best experience of you in this moment. So that will produce that result as a natural conclusion. And if it doesn't, that's still not on you. You've done your best, which was all you could do. And then you can learn from the experience. If it doesn't go the way that you want, next time, how can I do it differently? Maybe I didn't get my point across. Maybe I could have brought visual aids. Maybe I could have done this. And in this way, you're always looking at it from a positive and an opportunity perspective. Because remember, it's how you look at things that determine the result that you're going to get. So, the mistake we often make is that we approach meetings, one-on-ones, board sessions, all these kinds of things with the idea of getting everyone else to either like us. We want them to say we did a great job. We want, them to think that we're great or that we really know our stuff. And those are good things. Everybody wants approval. And approval is fine, but you don't need it in order for you to be okay. And that's the difference. You want to go in always bringing your best foot forward, and the intention, based on whatever your intention was, you want to achieve that end. And based on that, the results will come. If you're putting your best in, you'll get your best out. Does that make sense? So either in your mind or on a piece of paper, repeat and complete these sentences. I want to practice mindfulness because, and fill in the blank. Or in our next meeting, I will show up and fill in the blank. I try not to go into any situation without mentally taking a moment to breathe. I breathe, take a deep breath, and I state my intention. My intention is this. And then I'll go into it, or I'll get on that conference call, or I'll have that meeting. But I'm always going into it with a clear definition of what my intention is for that moment. In doing so, I'm setting the groundwork for how I will navigate the situation, well in advance, despite how the other party responds. I can't control others, but I can absolutely control how I will show up for the engagement. My intention for this session is to share insight into how mindfulness can become a way of life, and I desire to impart some knowledge, tool, or resource that will enrich all of our lives in some way. And I'm very clear about that. And that's the goal that I have for this session with all of you, is that you will look at things a little bit differently. That maybe you will think about how you've managed or engaged with your team from a different perspective. And from that, move forward. I was going to take a little break here, but we're not. We're going to skip past that. But on your paper, just write 5 examples of new intentions that you will implement into your mindfulness program. Starting with, my intention for attending this session is. So everybody take a couple seconds and just write 5 intentions. So in how you want to engage with your team, and I'm going to ask a couple of you to give us an example here in about 2 minutes. Okay, so would anyone like to share an intention that they've created? Melissa, I see you writing and writing and writing. You want to share one of your intentions?
So I'll share 2. One, I said to show up as my best self and to stay in gratitude and joy continuously, because that matters to me. I just want to continually just be grateful for the things that I'm given and be joyful in my life. So
That's awesome. Very positive. And I promise you, if you do that, you're going to see a difference in how other people experience you, and they will experience you from a place of serenity and joy, and want to be around you, and you won't even understand why do they always want to hang around me, because they want to come and sponge off of that energy. That's what it is. Thank you. Who else would like to share?
I'll go. One thing is to go in with a positive attitude and try to maintain that positive attitude when I don't agree on something, because that can be hard to where I'll just, just go in and I'm like, okay, Beverly, just pay attention, just listen, stay positive, and think clear.
Well, we're gonna help you with that, Beverly. It's some more stuff coming up, and it's gonna be they're 2 hard pills to swallow in my presentation. I'll be honest with you. 2. So far we've gotten to the easy stuff, but we'll talk about how to handle that a little bit further in the presentation. I appreciate your transparency on that, because that's difficult to do. It's like I'm in here, I'm all up here and I'm happy, and then these people are all down here somewhere, and like energies can't be in the same place. So somebody's either got to come up or somebody's got to come down. But when you're clear about your intention, you're not going to be encumbered with how they respond, because you know what, if they have an attitude and they're having a bad day, that's their problem. I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. And you know what? I appreciate your opinion, but we'll talk more about that later. You get me all excited. Okay. Who else would like to share? Heather, I see your pretty face. You want to share an intention? No, Kirsten.
It's Kirsten, but that's okay.
Kirsten.
I get it. I answer to whatever. No big deal. I guess my first thing was just thinking about going into work at, first thing in the morning and staying positive and not letting outside things affect my attitude then towards my staff. A lot of the times it's outside people that put me in a mood, and then I don't ever want to take that out on my staff. So just being intentional about not showing my frustrations and just taking a deep breath and knowing that, I can't control what other people are asking or doing or anything like that. So, but yeah, this is kind of great because sidebar, I have a couple of people who report directly to me in this session. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so they can we can talk about all this stuff afterwards and stuff too. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I think it's just I'm a worrier about what people think of me and stuff too. So it's like I'm always thinking about, okay, well, how is this gonna affect this person, or how are they gonna feel about this conversation? And it's like I need to worry about me giving my best self and saying what I need to say, and and just getting it out there. And I can't worry about how people interpret it or how they feel about it. So
Absolutely, because the thing is, they're going to think what they're going to think anyway. So, I can't allow how other people feel to dictate my serenity and how I feel and how I show up for my team, because I can't, you can't please everybody. You just can't. And if you're anxious and worried about how people feel about you, where are you living?
what was that?
If you're anxious and worried about what other people are going to think about you, where are you living?
In their head.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me say, based on what we learned at the beginning of the presentation,
Right.
In the
where are
future,
you living?
anxious, like
In the future.
You're living in the future, and the future hasn't happened yet.
Right.
So, and if you're worried about because they reacted a certain way the last time you had to deal with them, or every time you deal with them, where are you living?
In the future, or in the past.
In the past.
Yeah.
And we can't control the past. The past is over. We can't control the future because it hasn't happened yet. We have to stay in the present. So great. Thank you for sharing that, Kirsten.
It's
I
okay. It's all good.
Okay. So we'll move forward. Thank you guys so much for your feedback. We're going to take a break, but due to all the technical difficulties, we won't. So we'll move forward. So let's talk about, here's the first hard pill to swallow. Non-resistance. So Aikido is the principle of non-resistance. Because it is non-resistant, it is victorious from the beginning. Those with evil intentions and contentious thoughts are instantly vanquished. Aikido is invincible because it contends with nothing. Said, however, non-resistance does not mean that you are a doormat, Beverly. Doesn't mean that. Okay? So think about it. It's very difficult to fight with someone who won't fight back. Mindful leaders avoid unnecessary conflict by choosing when to engage. And not only that, we predetermine, because remember, we're acutely aware of who we are and how we want to present in this moment. So we've already decided how we're going to be when we go into this meeting. And so we predetermine how we're going to engage in a manner that serves our highest good. We don't react. So you don't get to, I come in and you get to mess my day up. You don't get to do that. When I come in, you don't get to bring me your negativity and then make my day negative. We don't react to the outside stimulus that provides something that does not align with my intention. That's why it's so important to have an intention. You can't just get up and go to work. You can't just get up and go in these meetings. You have to be clear with what your purpose is when you go in, so that you don't get derailed. Because if you just, all right, it's time for the Thursday meeting. Let me go see what they talking about. Okay, and you go to the meeting and then you're here, anything can come up from the other people. And then now you got to respond to that stuff because you didn't prepare and you didn't predetermine how you were going to be before you got there. So we don't react. We act from a place of careful intention. We say, I choose peace rather than this. So rather than getting upset, instead of arguing with you, instead of trying to be right, and instead of trying to convince you that what I'm telling you is for your highest good or for the good, I choose to be peaceful. If you don't accept what I'm saying, okay, I'm not going to fight you. There's a saying that says, what you resist persists. So I'll give you this example. Men have resisted women in leadership for far too long, right? But look what we have now. We got a woman vice president. So I'm so excited about that. But men have been fighting women ever since there were women. Ever since the first woman got made in the garden or whatever you believe in. So it's been a struggle for women in general to find their place. But when practicing non-resistance, we want to become aware of the negative statements that we make. There's negative self-talk that a lot of like words like I don't do that. They don't pay me enough. I don't do that. Or can't. Well, I can't do this or I can't do that or won't or not. Well, we want to make sure we're not coming from a negative headspace. Instead, and when we're practicing non-resistance, so we're not going to argue, we're not going to fight, we're going to stay in our predetermined place of serenity that we've defined for ourselves. We're going to focus on making statements that attract your desired results. So for example, instead of saying, I can't do this, instead say, well, I'm open to learning, growing and learning something new. Okay, I can take a look at that and see. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to automatically fight back. Or, you know what, I'll consider your suggestion. I hadn't thought about it that way. Let me think on that. Instead of saying, no, that's not going to work. We tried that last year. It didn't work. Or when so-and-so used to be in charge, we tried that and it didn't work. I'm just saying stuff from my experience. I'm sure y'all don't experience any of this kind of stuff. But this is stuff from my experience in the workplace. And it's real easy to throw up a block when somebody brings a new idea to you, especially if it's uncomfortable. Right? It's real easy to throw up that wall or your hands and say no. But instead, we practice non-resistance in our thoughts. So we'll be open to new ideas and new ways of doing things. Doesn't mean you have to do it. Doesn't mean you have to embrace it, because if you're open and you weigh it out carefully and it doesn't make sense for you, then you're not married to do it. But at least you're open enough to have the conversation, to have a dialogue instead of just shutting people down, especially if you do that to your employees. Because if you do that to you, and I used to be guilty of this. I used to, no, I said no. Well, why? I just said no. You can't do that because you will alienate your team. People will be afraid to come to you and be.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was talking to my cat.
Okay.
Apologies.
No worries. But we want, as mindful leaders, we want to be able to have a place of dialogue and open vulnerability with our employees and those that we lead, so that they will come to us, that they'll bring us their concerns, they'll bring us their ideas. I used to have an employee that brought me the most goofball, off the wall suggestions. I'm like, where did you get that from? And I used to want to just shut him down, but instead, that's a different way to look at that. Let me think on that. You don't have to do it, but from a non-resistance standpoint, we're trying to keep all of our interactions that in line with our intentions. And so my intention is not to get into it with anybody today. That could be your intention. My intention is to have a successful meeting. My intention is to bring a new idea to the team and get their feedback. So we're always looking for ways of positive engagement. So non-resistance is really key. So when you think of non-resistance, think of water. Water is the most powerful force in the universe. It carves out mountains, but yet it doesn't force its way. It doesn't go against the elements. It forges its own path when no path exists. You can't stop water. I'm sorry. People in New Orleans will tell you, since Katrina, no, you cannot stop water. But water just does what it does. So instead of fighting to be right, instead state your clearly defined purpose and allow others the opportunity to respond to your energy in a manner of their choosing. But if you come to people from the right place and from a place of open dialogue and acceptance and empowerment, you are going to find that people will respond to that in a positive way. If you're giving positive, you'll get back positive. If you're giving negative, you'll get back negative. It's the law. It's physics law. It's not anything I made up. What you put out, you will get back. There's an equal and opposite reaction for every action. Sure, we all learned that in school. All right, so the D is for determination. So determination is the battle cry of the mindful leader. I'm here for it. I don't quit. I do it. I like that little picture. I don't quit. Like Nike, we just do it. The mindful leader is not driven by results. Remember that. So as we have all been taught, get results, meet the numbers, meet your quota, meet the deadline, it's always about that. But results come naturally as a result of our mindfulness, not the other way around. And that's good or bad. So whatever results that you're getting or you're seeing, you're being mindful as a human being. But if your mindfulness is cultivating a negative environment, then that's what you're going to get back. You're thinking anyway. So I'm just saying or suggesting that since you're thinking anyway, let's control those thoughts and let's drive those thoughts towards the things that benefit us, and that we're going to have a determination and a resolve to see our intentions come to light. And then because we move with purpose and determination from a place of intention, we then attract and create the results we want to see in our lives. Just as success is not the result of money, money is the result of success. Similarly, determination is not the result of success. Success is the result of determination. If you didn't give up, if you hung in there, if you had a positive attitude, you were a great leader to your team, you will get those results that you want. It's not the reverse. Does that make sense? Everybody understand that concept? Okay, so self-determination is believing that you can dictate your own destiny. This allows you to set goals for yourself and take the initiative to reach those goals that you set for yourself. And in mindfulness, determination involves having a clarity of purpose. Again, having a clear intention and a relentless attitude to achieve your highest vision of yourself, not the highest goal that you can meet, but being your highest vision of yourself. And the higher you hold yourself and aspire to your highest good, your results are going to reflect that. And those results are going to come right along with that. So it's really all the power is in your hands as a mindful leader. We just have to be sometimes we just do things. You know, negative thoughts come in our mind and we sit up and entertain them. Well, what if you can't do it? The goal is too high. We couldn't even meet the last goal. How are you going to meet this goal? a lot of negative self-talk that comes as a result of us not harnessing our thoughts and being clear about our intention. So you must have clarity of purpose and the determination to see that purpose through. So it's the idea of stick-to-itness, wherein you continue to move forward despite how things appear or despite distractions. So it's the same as this presentation today. We had technical difficulties, right? But we pushed through. We couldn't allow that to deter us. And then because we're all here in harmony, Melissa stepped up. There were others who stepped up to offer suggestions, and we were all empowered to try to bring this thing together towards a common cause. But if my attitude would have been wrong, or if I would have come at you all in a negative way, I might not have gotten those same results. If my intention wasn't clear from the beginning, I might not have gotten the open arms and the support that everybody, oh, don't worry about it. You got it. We're here. We've been through it. So it's the same way in your business life as a leader. When you present yourself in a way that is positive and determined, your team will get right in line with that. And they're going to help push you, and they will try to push you over the finish line. But if we're not kind, if we're not open, and we shut people down, and we have negativity, people are scared to even come to us, scared to knock on our door because we don't know which one of you is going to show up today. Right? So all of these things come into play as a mindful leader. So the mindful leader is focused. That's the F. You don't get results by focusing on results. You get results by focusing on the actions that produce results. That's from Mike Hawkins. All of these things just build on each other. If we get our minds off of results, because the reason why that theme comes up, and it's coming up from all these different authors and all these different perspectives, is because we can't control results. It's an illusion to think you can. You're fooling yourself if you think you can. I practiced this presentation. I did it over the phone with someone. The video worked. Everything worked. The slides worked. Everything was great. And when we got here, what did it all do? I had to change mics twice. I had to do all these different things. You can't control results, but what you can control is you and how you show up. And then based on how you show up, when different things come up, you can recalibrate. You can get yourself back in line with your intention. So the mindful leader is laser focused on realizing her highest intentions from moment to moment with clarity of purpose. I keep repeating these ideas. You got to be clear. You got to be clear about what your intentions are. Thoughts often come to introduce fear, anxiety, and misdirection from purpose. So as if you are the observer, stepping back, seeing these thoughts that come across your mind, gently pull yourself back to the present moment to avoid being distracted. Focus undergirds your determination. All these things build on each other. Focus gives energy and power to your determination, and it provides the direction to that energy so that it will manifest your desired results. So your focus, staying on point, staying in line with your intention, sticking to it, that focus is going to bring you your results. Be careful not to focus on the obstacles, the negative possibilities, or even past failures. So pop quiz, if you're thinking about past failures, where are you living? Somebody. Come on.
In the
Where you live?
past.
In the past. And if you're worried about what's going to happen, you're living where?
In the future.
In the future. So we want to stay right now in the present moment. So focus helps you to stay there. So be careful not to get distracted. So read, if you do get distracted, because we're human, just pull yourself back, take a step back. When you hear a pop, see, we think we come up with ideas. We think we create our thoughts, but we don't. All the thoughts are out there in the universe floating around. There's nothing new under the sun. So thoughts just randomly pop into your consciousness. When it pops into your consciousness, you have a choice to either entertain that thought and say, you know, like you're watching TV and you see pizza, and then you say, you know what, pizza would sound good. Let me order a pizza. And you calling Domino's, or you calling Popeyes or Papa John's, but you weren't thinking about pizza. That wasn't your thought. You didn't think that up. It just came into your mind because you saw a pizza on TV or something like that. So that's the same way it is. And when it pops into your mind, these thoughts, random thoughts, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, they're not going to listen to you. Oh, you know, all this negative stuff. When those thoughts pop in, you can just switch that thought. No, my purpose is, or my intention is that, no, I will do a good job. I am going to show up today and show out. I am going to be my best self today. I am going to have joy. Melissa, I am going to do what I've determined in my mind, in my heart, for today's events, or for this meeting, or for this engagement, or for the PTA at this kid's school. You are going to stay focused on your agenda and your goal. So focus on the task at hand and recognize and release internal and external distractions as they arise in your mind. This is how mindfulness helps to increase your effectiveness, diminish the potential for you making a mistake, and it harnesses your creativity. Being able to exercise focused attention simply means being able to direct your attention, becoming aware if your mind decides to wander, and then being able to redirect your focus to your intention at hand. All right, we're almost done. So the U is for unjudging. This is the other second hard pill, Beverly, we have to swallow. So be curious, not judgmental. That's from Walt Whitman. The mindful leader intentionally makes an effort not to pass judgment. We judge people, especially as women. We judge people for how they look, what they drive, what they do for a living. The list goes on ad infinitum. That guy is just weird. He's creepy. I don't know why. Do you know this guy? No, but he's just creepy. I don't know what it is about this guy. And we judge people. So it's in our nature to be judgmental, but it doesn't serve us to be like that. If you find yourself being judgmental, immediately stop yourself. So I stop myself quite a bit. I'm a Virgo, so we're judgmental in nature. And I have to constantly guard my thoughts and stop. I'm like, I could be watching a TV show and like, his beard is weird. You know, and wait a minute, let me stop that. I'm being negative. Why would I even be? I don't even know that guy. Why would I be like that? So when you see those, when you see opportunities where you want to judge someone, or you're considering someone for a position or on your team or for a promotion, sometimes we'll say, oh no, I would recommend her, but she, you know, she's got too many kids, so she probably, you know, gonna get to call out a lot, so no. Or we make judgments about people based on things that are just in our mind. So, you know, immediately stop yourself. To assess how judgmental you are, my challenge is to take a mental tally of how often you criticize or pass judgment upon people over the course of a day. And you're going to be surprised how many times that, like, oh my God, I am a negative person. I need to change this. And it's a realization that I have for myself, and it's something that I work on, because as a leader, we should strive to incorporate an attitude of understanding and empathy for others, not judgment. When we pass judgment on those that we lead, we set ourselves up to be disappointed, angry, or we begin to think the worst of people just because we judge them for a specific thing. or we think their sexuality is weird, or we think that their religion is weird, or they're a witch. And I had that in my experience. Someone at work that came out that they practice witchcraft. So all because of that, it was like a whole thing we had going about what this person might be doing at home. I mean, it's different. That had nothing to do with this individual and their ability to perform their job. So I just used that example because that was like a weird situation, but it's very easy for us to become judgmental and make judgments about people that are not necessarily based in truth, but just based on preconceived ideas we have about something. And the downside of this behavior is that you won't allow yourself to know more because you've already judged them. So it could be a whole lot that they could bring to the table or offer you, but because you've already made a judgment about them, you'll never get to find out that, you know, that they make the best lasagna in the world, or that they know how to do a certain program that would benefit your presentation that you're building, because we just automatically write these people off based on our judgments. So, and it keeps you from having a meaningful dialogue that would build a bridge rather than to create distance between you and the people that you lead. As a leader, it's all about inclusion and togetherness and trying to get them on board with your vision, that your intention. So when we do negative things like judgment, that distances you from that person, and they'll feel that. I don't know why she doesn't like me. And you could not even have that thought, but if that's how you're coming across, your people that you're leading are not going to be as productive as you need them to be, because they don't see you as a source of inspiration, right? Or they've heard you talk about other people, so they're scared to come to you about something because they're scared you're going to judge them, right? So as a leader, it might be beneficial to find ways to communicate by building a bridge of tolerance and allowance. Taking the time to do this will make a huge difference in how you manage your team. So we talked about mindful. M is motivation. I is intention. N is non-resistance. D is determination. F is for focus. U is unjudging. And finally, L is for loving. When we are mindful, deeply in touch with the present moment, our understanding of what is going on deepens, and we begin to be filled with acceptance, joy, peace, and love. Now, what does it have to do with being a mindful leader? The mindful leader is loving in nature. And this is not an idea of romantic love. So no, you can't go out with the cute guy on your team. Unfortunately, that's a no-go. It is leadership from the perspective of genuine care for those who follow your leadership. Love refers to compassion or loving kindness for the people that you're leading. From a mindfulness perspective, it's about bringing curious attention to our hearts and minds to transform our awareness. Remember, it's our acute awareness of who we are and how we want to present in this moment as a leader. So I need to be aware of the people that I lead and who they are and how they want to present. With this new awareness, we can begin gently inclining toward care, patience, and respect for others and ourselves. In the words of Brene Brown, we cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. And when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering with trust, respect, kindness, and affection. That's not saying you got to hug all your employees and be all over them. It just means that they need to know that you care. In my experience as a leader for over 17 years, my employees would go to the ends of the world for me because they knew I cared. I knew that Brian had a restraining order on his wife because she was crazy and they were going through a divorce. I knew that Maggie's daughter hadn't been home. I mean, I knew things about them, and I cared about them, and I made exceptions for certain things for them when it was important to them, because I wanted them to know that I cared about them holistically, not just in getting results on the job. And that's a way of expressing love and care for your people. There's this Theodore Roosevelt said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. The employees that don't buy into that kind of connection, they're going to do the bare minimum, just enough not to get fired. And when you've isolated those people, they eventually end up firing themselves because they're not pulling their weight. But if you were, as a mindful leader, engaged with them, you could maybe find out that there's a reason why they've been slacking off or needing lots of extra time off because there's something going on that's deeply personal or whatever. And they can feel safe coming to you or letting you know what's going on because they know that you care about them as a leader. Right. And when you have that care and they'll want to buy you gifts for your birthday. And it's not that you're looking for those kinds of things. What you want as a leader is for these people to follow your lead. That's the very definition. And you got to get your employees and those that you lead, your teams, to buy into you as a leader. And these are the steps that you can take to show them that you are that leader that they can follow, that they can feel good about, that they can learn from, that they can grow with, and feel included in your journey. And they will do everything they can to help you get there if they know that you care. So we're going to wrap it up. And here's some mindfulness exercises that I'll share. Now, there are any number of things that you can do, and just about any of them will do. But here are a couple things that I wanted to point out before we wrap up. And it's my recommendation that you find 2 or 3 go-to methods that you can use when you go into any stressful situation. So the first one is just to pause. If you feel yourself getting stressed, or you know you're about to go into this big meeting, you're nervous, and you shouldn't be nervous, because if you're nervous, you're living in the future. I'll go ahead and give you that one so you guys don't have to come off mute. But if you find yourself going into the future, and they call in AA, they call that future tripping. If you find yourself future tripping and, oh, what if this and what if they say that, and all that kind of stuff, pause. All thoughts, we already talked about, they're products of the universal mind, so they're not yours. Those kinds of thoughts, self-doubting, self-deprecating, those things are just floating out there. So you're not obligated to accept these thoughts. You can reject the thoughts that don't serve you. So in these stressful moments, take a moment, pause and take a moment to gather your thoughts, examine your soul to see how you're feeling, assess what thoughts are creating a sense of anxiety, fear, or discomfort. I feel like, oh God, I feel like they're not going to listen to me. Or I feel like, X, Y, Z. Once you've identified those thoughts, you can ask yourself, are these negative thoughts that come up when I'm triggered? Yep, I'm tripping. Let me stop. Okay. I understand that all thought is either rooted in love or rooted in fear. So if this thought is, oh, they're not going to like me or they're not going to listen to me, that's a fearful thought, right? So I'm going to reject that. Instead, I'm going to replace that with a loving thought. No, I will do my best. I will be my best self in this moment. Whether they like it or not, I'm going to go in here and do and present my best self. Use this moment to recenter yourself, bring yourself back to the present moment, and replace those thoughts with those that support your intention. That's why it's got to have you got to have one. Over time, you will see unwanted and negative thoughts diminish as you train yourself to manage your thought proactively. They'll still come up, goofball thoughts slip in, but you'll be more aware of it, and you'll swat that thought away. No, I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna think she doesn't like me. Why? I have no reason to think that. I'm not going to go in there with a negative thought. I'm going to go in here fresh and engage with her and have a good interaction experience. So during the pause, it is an excellent time, an opportunity to refine or to state your intention for that moment. If you forgot to do it, you know what? No, I didn't even have an intention for this. Okay, my intention is I'm going to go in here and XYZ. So if you forgot and you find yourself future tripping, that's a good time to state an intention. Now, mindful mornings. All of you may or may not be able to do this, but when my employees used to love this. This can be a few minutes of meditation or group discussion about an affirmation to start your business day. I used to come in, you can do it virtually, but I used to come in, and when I came in, we would have an intention or an affirmation. And it went around, you know, each day was a different employee. And then sometimes somebody, I got a good one for today. Can I go today? I'm like, okay, we'll do it. And they would tell us the affirmation, whatever it was, or they'll find a quote. And that's what it kind of ended up being a lot, were good quotes they found that we thought were good. We talk about it, we share it, talk about it for a few minutes and start our day. It wasn't a major thing. We just got started. It was just a chance to connect with everybody, get everybody on that same page. We go over the affirmation or the quote or whatever, and then get started. And in that way, after we started doing that, a lot of the bickering that used to happen stopped. It was more positive energy in there. Everybody liked it. It's important to make sure that this is not a religious thing unless everybody's religious. But I try to steer away from those kinds of things. But most people, you'd be surprised. Most people will love to have something positive every day. Or if you do one before you start your meetings, it doesn't have to be every day, but there are ways, look for ways to include your team into your vision as a mindful leader, wherever that's possible. Meditation is a powerful tool for practicing mindfulness. Meditation is not a way of making the mind quiet. It's a way of entering into the quiet that's already there, buried under the 50,000 thoughts the average person thinks per day, every day. And that's by Deepak Chopra. So when it comes to meditation, and I'm like a meditation guru, I teach meditation. But what I like to do is introduce easy, practical ways that you can implement it into, because most people don't know how to meditate. First thing you have to know is that you have to have you want to have an intention for this meditation, even if it's just I want to be still with myself in this moment. I mean, intention is so critical in everything that you do. But what I recommend is guided meditations, and there are 1,000 of them on YouTube. One of the ones I started a lot of people on is look for I am meditations. I am. And usually what they'll do is just tell you, like, it's a long list of I am affirmations. I am abundant. I am loving. I am kind. I am, and it'll do that for however long, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour. You can fall asleep listening to those. And the reason I always push people to I am is because a lot of times we have a negative vision of ourselves. And that can be a result of how we were brought up, how people treated us, and we have a lot of negativity around our own identity. So listening to those kinds of positive reinforcing guided meditations can help you to feel better about yourself. And then there are all kinds. You can go down in a very deep rabbit hole looking for meditations, but guided is the easiest way to get started. And I usually say about 5 minutes to start. And then soon you'll graduate. There are sound meditations that you can listen to go to sleep. Silent meditation, when you master yourself and are able to sit for at a designated amount of time in silence and focus on your intention. But wherever you can put meditation in, my spiritual leader says if you want to meditate, do it while you're driving. And he's like, he says, do it while you're driving when you get to a traffic light. And we're like, what? He says, well, if you're meditating, the person behind you will tell you when it's time to go because they'll start blowing their horn at you. I don't recommend that, but that is a thought, right? Also, you want to incorporate visualization if you can. I have a vision board, and I used to think that was so corny, but now if you see my vision board, I have everything up there. I had to actually redo it because all the stuff that I had on there, almost everything had come to pass. So I actually had to redo it and put so visualization is something very critical that you can add in there. So also, now this is the easiest one that you can do anywhere at any time, and that's breathing exercises. You're focusing on breathing is a tool that can be used anywhere. When focusing on your breathing, you're bringing yourself into the now, this moment. So let's practice this together, and we can all participate here. Place a hand on your belly, either one, and feel it expanding and contracting with your shoulders relaxed. So you want to relax, put your hand on your stomach, and you can feel your stomach going up and down. So imagine that your belly is a balloon that inflates when you breathe in and deflates when you exhale. And I like to make the swishing sound when I exhale. That gives you another thing to focus on that helps you to stay in the moment because you're listening and focusing on your breath. So we're going to take a deep breath for 5 seconds. And exhale for 3 seconds. Inhale 5 seconds. Exhale for 3 seconds. Now, in just doing that, Kirsten got it, girl. You are on it, doggone it. When you do that, it's helpful sometimes to close your eyes. I usually close my eyes. I had them open because I'm trying to pay attention to the presentation. But you can repeat that for 2 to 5 minutes, and you will feel your anxiety go down. You will feel any angst that you have go down. You will feel yourself relax. And it doesn't really matter what your intention is. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm tripping right now, so I'm gonna bring myself back into the moment. I'm just gonna focus on now. Or you can focus on I'm about to go into this meeting. I'm gonna do my best. And whatever you want to tell yourself in that moment as far as your intention. You don't have to say anything, or you can say something out loud. It's your moment. It's your interaction with yourself, and just do that until you can feel yourself calm down. And then when you're feeling refreshed, you can go into whatever meeting or stressful environment, or go deal with the crazy ladies at the PTA meetings, or the troops with the brownies, or whatever you're doing, whatever situation that you find yourself going into. Take a few moments to breathe and center yourself, and you will find that you'll feel so much better. It's like instant. Like, oh, why wasn't I doing this all my life? But it's good stuff. So I'm going to take a moment here because I've done quite a bit of talking. So let me ask anybody willing to share some of the mindfulness techniques that you currently use that we can share with the others?
I would say that I feel that I'm always loving in nature because I do care about, because I work with students a lot, and I do care about them, and to the point where I seem like I adopted them as my children. So, it's always, what do you need? Tell me what's going on today, because it helps them to know that there's extra support, on a college campus if they can't get it from home, or if they can't get it from their faculty members or other staff members. It's just, having them feel more comfortable so that they can, come in and talk to you. So I do know that I do have a love of nature when it comes to working with different types of groups of people, and and especially my students.
Right. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Who else wants to share? Nobody practices mindfulness in any way?
I would like to say one of the things I do is if I find myself being a little impatient with people, if it's like in traffic or at work or in the grocery store or whatever, I try and put myself in their shoes. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they just got bad news, or something's going on in their life that makes them a little bit short. So you try to maybe be a little more patient with them, because you don't know what's going on in their life or their mind.
Right. Right. And it's key to tune in on those kinds of things. And Beverly, you mentioned it too, being a resource for those people, and then taking it into consideration, and that all of that is mindfulness. And if you ignore those kinds of things, well, that's not my problem. That's not my business. Or, um, you know, if you don't choose moments where you can engage, and even if they don't want to share, at least offer an ear, or a sense of understanding for that person. That all of those things endear people to you as a leader. And that was my whole thing. It wasn't that I want my people to love me. I want them to think I'm the greatest boss in the world, which I did. But I knew that I had a vision for where I wanted my team to go. And I knew that I couldn't make complete my vision if the people who follow me didn't help me get there. So what do I need to do to get these people motivated to help me to achieve my goals? Because my success was entirely rooted in their success and how well they performed. And that reflected on me as a leader. And so it's very, very important that we're engaged and aware of the people that we lead. Kara, I see you put your camera on. Did you want to share?
Sure. Yeah, I guess for me, like what I tend to do is that after like a long day, I always wind down of drawing something, and then that
Oh,
will refresh myself for like the next day because of my media companies and stuff. So I like try to make sure I always draw something after work or like work on something, and that tends to help. Or during work, I always listen to like classic rock because it gets me like pumped and stuff, or like 90s music or any type of music that gets like me into the mood of like doing work in the office or just anything in general. So,
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's actually in my presentation. I kind of skipped over it, but I put here, I also enjoy music as a meditation tool. I have certain songs that pump me up and get me going, that pull me out of a funk. And I kind of skipped through because I know our time was winding down. But that's an excellent point. And even the drawing. See, if people have it confused, or most of us think of meditation and we're like, nam yorin kekyo, or whatever. Those are forms of meditation. But really, the definition of meditation is being in the moment, in the present moment now. So anything that puts you in that, and even if it's drawing, that brings you focused on what you're drawing, you're now in this moment. If you're listening to the music, I have some feel good dance songs that I'm hearing dancing, and I'll say affirmations while I'm listening to the beat and all this kind of stuff. It just, as long as you're whatever it is that you're doing has you in the now, in this moment. You're not thinking about anything you got to do in the future. You're not worried about anything that had to go in the past. This is something that has you in this moment, and you're, depending on what your intention is, will help kind of define what method you use. So if in this moment I want to just feel good and be free, I'm gonna listen to this music, I'm gonna dance, or you know what, I need to, I was stressed today, I need to bring myself down, so I want to just uh, do a mantra, you know, or whatever it is that you're going through, you find the meditation tool that helps you express how you're feeling in that moment. So I'm really glad that you said those are two really creative ways. I put music in my, but drawing I had not considered or heard before, so that's really new, and I'm gonna add that into my presentation.
Yeah, because before I got into my major of graphic design, I really wanted to go to school for art therapy. And a lot of that is
Ah,
is very similar to drawing. Anything like if you can draw anything. It can be a scribble or anything, as long as you're focusing on something that you love doing. Could be cooking, making music, or just singing. That always distracts you in that moment because you have peace. So I always wanted to go into that, but I went into graphic design instead.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, because like I said, I
Yeah.
never heard that one before, but you're absolutely spot on. That is a tool that you can use for meditation.
Hmm.
So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna put this here since we don't have handouts and stuff. You can do a screenshot or take a picture. This is the Power of a Mindful Woman checklist that kind of sums everything up, and you can take this with you. So, motivation, people often underestimate how much self motivation is key to your success. Write down motivating affirmations and place them where you can see them every day. Intentions, state clear intentions for each event of your day. Have a clear purpose for how you will present to your workplace, home life, and relationships for each encounter. Non resistance, remember that what you resist persists. So let go of combative and negative self talk. Instead, focus on your desired intentions. Determination. Determination is the battle cry of the mindful leader. Remember to practice stick to itness in the face of difficulties or distractions. Focus. Remember to focus on your intentions, not your results. Focus gives life, energy, and direction to your determination. Do not let distractions derail you from achieving your goals. Unjudgmental. Consider implementing the dual method. Our time is up. Um, and remember the mindfulness exercises. All right, we're about to be shut down. So I want to leave you guys with this. And here's my information again if you want to take it down. Do a screenshot. And also, please follow me on Instagram at Burning Desire Spiritual Recovery. Don't do Twitter so much or Facebook. So Instagram is the way to find me. And if you want to reach out, definitely shoot me an email. But a strong woman loves, forgives, walks away, lets go, tries again, and perseveres no matter what life throws at her. And my own personal quote, the mindful woman is a thermostat, not a thermometer. She sets the tone for how you engage with her. And I thank you guys so much for your time today. You can take a picture of this final analysis. That's a quote that I like to keep. We have 58 seconds. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. But what you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, some may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough, but give the world the best you got anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is all between you and God. It was never between you and them anyway. Thank you guys for your time.